Meanwhile, he is in, I believe, a diner in Des Moines, Iowa. He's our former vice president, Republican presidential candidate right now, Mike Pence. Good morning to you, Mr. Vice President.
Hey, good morning, guys. Great to be with you from Iowa. And I'll tell you, we had a very exciting day here yesterday. After a lot of prayer and deliberation over the last 2 years, my wife and I decided we were going to seek the Republican nomination for President of the United States. We thought we'd announce it here in the first-in-the-nation state. And the encouragement we've been receiving here and around the country has been very humbling. People going to MikePence2024.com and signing up has been brisk since yesterday. And we've been very humbled by the outpouring of support and encouragement from people here and all over America.
Sure.
Thanks for having me on.
Well, you are welcome. We're so glad that you gave us a portion of your morning. Thank you so much, and we wish you and your wife nothing but the best, and your family.
I think she's right there somewhere.
Yeah, she's at the diner with you, I believe. Why in the world would you want to run for president now?
Well, thanks, Ainsley. Thanks for the kind words. Look, I think this country's in a lot of trouble. I mean, Joe Biden has weakened America at home and abroad, and as I've traveled around this country as a private citizen over the last 2 years, I've seen firsthand the hardship the American people are facing. I've stood on the border on many occasions and seen the worst border crisis in American history. I've watched the unfolding tragedy in Eastern Europe, the disastrous withdrawal from Afghanistan that literally has emboldened the enemies of freedom. And I've seen the steady assault on our values and ideals by this administration. And when I think back, Ainsley, about the privileges we've had, not just to serve as your vice president, but 4 years as governor of the state of Indiana and 12 years as a leader among House conservatives on Capitol Hill, we just felt a duty to bring our experience and our background to bear on the challenges facing the country. And as I said, the encouragement we've been receiving from around the country for that's been very humbling. But we're really responding to what Karen and I believe is a calling. And we're trying to answer that call to the American people and to our audience of one.
I know when the word came out that you were going to run, the former president said some nice things about you. He's a good man. We got along. They disagree on January 6th. And you said this yesterday. Anyone who asks someone else to put themselves over the Constitution should never be president again. And he demanded that you choose between him and the Constitution. Now voters will be faced with the same choice. I chose the Constitution. You're calling him out. You do not think he should be president again, whether you're running or not.
Well, look, I think that's in the hands of the American people. But I thought in announcing my campaign, it was important that people understand that I'll always believe that I did my duty on January 6th in supporting the Constitution and upholding the peaceful transfer of power. But as you and I have talked many times, Brian, that's not because I didn't think there were irregularities in the election, but once the courts had reviewed those and states had certified, the Constitution in Article 2, Section 3 was clear that as I presided over the House and Senate, our job was to open and count the electoral votes. I said yesterday the president was wrong then, and he's wrong now. And I thought it was important that the American people know that we have that difference. But I also said yesterday that I'm also running because, frankly, I see my former running mate and others in this field walking away from what has been the timeless conservative agenda of the Republican Party.
What?
We're the leader of the free world, but we have people walking away from American leadership. We've been committed to fiscal responsibility. We have the president himself has the same position that Joe Biden has on entitlement reform and fiscal responsibility. And for my part, I'm pro-life. I don't apologize for it. I hold the view that now at this moment, this new era in the sanctity of life in the country, we cannot shy away. We cannot back off. We've got to continue to drive until we restore the sanctity of life to the center of American law. So we have our differences with my former running mate and, frankly, others in the field. And I thought that it was important that we lay those out really on day one as we take our case to the people here in Iowa and all across America.
Mr. Vice President, I heard in your first response what I think you are trying to do in presenting yourself to America. And you were talking about how, you served as governor. You served as a congressman. You're a conservative guy, a conservative Republican. But at the same time, you were most famous for being Donald Trump's vice president. So you're running more as the conservative Republican who's going to change things rather than Donald Trump, even though you guys got a lot done as his running mate. So ultimately, for the people who do the picking, the voters, it's like, do I pick the guy who was president or the guy who was his vice president? Because the guy who was president is running against the vice president.
Well, it's a fair point, but, you know, I think you make a great point. Look, the thing I've learned traveling the country the last 2 years is, you know, I'm well known, but I don't think I'm known well. I mean, I was proud to serve as vice president in the Trump-Pence administration. Some of them in this field have taken to criticizing the record of our administration, but I'm incredibly proud of the record of our administration. I was always loyal to President Donald Trump up until my duty to God and the Constitution demanded otherwise, and I'll be proud of that record. But I think different times call for different leadership, and our ambition in this campaign is that people would come to know us. They'd come to know the journey my wife, my family, and I have been on really over the last 30 years, since the time as a young man that I joined the Reagan Revolution and never looked back. So, because I think it's those conservative principles that, frankly, the former president and many in our party are starting to shy away from: a commitment to traditional values, a commitment to American leadership in the world, and a commitment to future generations to practice fiscal responsibility and reform today and be honest with the American people about the debt crisis that we're facing. I want to bring all that experience, all that background to bear, and that's the reason why we stepped forward in this race, because I think we can do better. I really do believe that this is a time when all of us who have the ability and the experience to make a difference have a responsibility to try.
We just learned that the FBI is going to allow all of House oversight, not just the two leaders on the Democrat and Republican side, to see that document, the 1023 form that alleges that there was a $5 million crime, a bribery crime. It involved the then vice president and foreign nationals in exchange for money for policy. Those are all just allegations. We don't know what this document says. What's your reaction to that? What will happen?
Well, I want to commend House Republicans for being tenacious about it. You know, my years in the Congress, when you ask the executive branch for something, they don't give it to you. You put a subpoena on the table, and that tends to get their attention. I'm glad to know they worked it out. I'm glad that information is going to be made available, because, look, this has been going on for years. I mean, it was a disgrace in the run-up to the 2020 campaign that most of the major media and big tech literally suppressed the story about Hunter Biden's laptop. I mean, it would be more than a year later before everybody conceded that, in fact, it was the laptop. And then we found out that the FBI actually had the laptop as well. Look, equal treatment under the law is at the very center and the heart of American justice. And I commend members of Congress that are demanding to know what the facts are, holding the Biden family accountable. The American people have a right to know whether the president or his family have been compromised by foreign investment and foreign dollars. This long era of, I'll say it, collusion between big tech, big media, and the Democratic Party on this issue has got to stop. The American people deserve the facts. So
Chris Christie was on earlier, and over the last few days had interviews, and he said that the grifting during the Trump administration by Jared Kushner and Ivanka was extraordinary and unacceptable. Are they grifters in your mind?
Look, I want to say I'm very proud of our time in the White House. I have great respect for Jared and Ivanka, and I wouldn't use terms like that to describe them. I think they made an extraordinary contribution to our administration, and as you know me well, I just think personal attacks have no place in public life. I said yesterday that I think democracy depends on heavy doses of civility, and while I'll always draw a clear line of where I differ with the former president and where I differ with others in this field, and most especially where I differ with Joe Biden. I think the American people want to see us restore a threshold of civility and respect to public life. It's something we've always aspired to as a family through our 20-year career, and that's how we'll carry ourselves forward.
And you don't want to see, you don't think Trump should be investigated or indicted on this document case? I saw you said yesterday.
Well, look, no one is above the law, but I hope not. I mean, you know, we're all still reeling from the execution of a search warrant a year ago at the home of a former president of the United States. You know, I was on the Judiciary Committee for many years. I said then there had to be dozens of ways that could have been resolved without a search warrant at the president's residence. And now with the specter of an indictment, excuse me, I just want to say that I hope the DOJ thinks very carefully about the prospect of an indictment of a former president of the United States. I think it would only serve to further divide our country, and it would send a terrible message to the wider world. And, you know, these issues, whether it be the classified documents found at President Biden's home or classified documents found at former President Trump's home, I'd rather see those issues litigated in the public square. Let the American people decide those issues. Let's take it to the country in this campaign, in the primary and in the general election. And for heaven's sakes, after all of the missteps and misdeeds within the Department of Justice over the last 4 years, we ought to be working to restore public confidence in equal treatment of the law in our justice system.
Well,
so I hope it doesn't come to that. I truly do.
Well, the political world is on indictment watch, and you are on breakfast watch, Mr. Vice President. Thank you very much for joining us. Real quick, what's your website if people would like more information or to donate?
Thanks for asking. MikePence2024.com. People can get information, sign up to volunteer, and, of course, support us. Thank you all very much, and God bless you.
Sir.
God bless you, too. Thank you.
I'm Steve Ducey.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart. And click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis.